I am paging Dr. Shonda.
I am the
doctor.
And I'm a licensed clinical psychologist.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Paging Dr. Shonda podcast, all things related to the Black culture.
The doctor in front of your name.
Stop scrolling for 1 second. This month, we are bringing back the psychology of Black women, the online class brought to you by yours truly, Dr. Shonda, licensed clinical psychologist. Y'all, I've been getting so many questions about why anxiety and depression presents differently in Black women. What do we do about it? How can we start to combat this? And what are some of the reasonings behind it? Listen, if you are a Black woman who has questions about anxiety and depression, it's something you experience or something your loved ones experience, or if you're a professional who works with Black women who experience anxiety and depression, I promise you this class is for you. Make sure that you sign up today.
Reverse the conversation.
Wait, is this your song? Is this Drive Back?
This is Drive Back.
Oh, can we turn this up real quick? Can we turn it up? Can we turn it up? Hey, hey,
Cause you know you're hella disrespectful. Every week I'm 1 foot off the door. Next thing I know you grabbing on my dairy.
All right, y'all ready to have a good time?
Listen, I'm excited.
Yes.
I'm very excited. Yes.
Candice, you have been on our list for so long to get on the podcast.
I have.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. I'm happy to be here with beautiful Black queens and all my HBCU grads, future grads, right? Yes. Y'all should be excited about graduating. Yes.
Come on.
Yes. Amen.
And you went to Howard, right?
HU.
It's some HUs in the building. Okay.
Good
okay.
afternoon.
I see
Good
the Howard
afternoon.
grads.
Yes.
Listen, we are so excited to hop into this conversation. We're going to be talking about so many things from legacy building, mental health, and so many great things. So y'all ready?
Career navigation, my love language. Look, I'm excited.
Yes, y'all. And if you know me, if you guys follow me, you know that my love language is mental health. And I can't wait to get into this first segment with you, Candice. So when discussing mental health, in the HBCU campuses, we always talk about how HBCUs are what build your level of confidence.
Yes.
I don't know who was on campus in 2012 at DSU, but Chanel and I, we was those girls. I say that humbly. We was those girls. But it was because of our level of confidence that HBCUs instilled in us. And Candice, I'm wondering, how did your HBCU instill in you a level of confidence? What did that look like?
I always say that I would be a completely different woman without the HBCU experience, but specifically the Howard experience. I'm from McDonough, Georgia. Grew up in yes, we got some Georgia people in the house. Grew up in a predominantly white spaces, which I think is a lot of our stories, right? And knew that I wanted to get out and felt called to move away from home and knew that my wings were not going to spread until I left home. And I truly feel as if the person that I am today is because of all of the experiences I've had, the good, the bad, the ugly. Speaking specifically to mental health, my mother is a mental health professional, so I grew up sort of in a space where talking about your feelings and not being okay and going to therapy was accepted. And I actually went to utilize the on-campus counselors and would go to therapy once a week on campus, which I feel like really helped me to feel like I was staying grounded and, finding my space and finding my purpose and making sure that I was focused.
First of all, give it up for that answer. Because growing up in safe spaces is so important, and I love how you highlighted taking advantage of like the mental health support on HBCU campuses.
There are so many resources that HBCUs provide, and you pay for them, okay? So utilize everything, but especially in a space where you're finding yourself and you're figuring out who you are and you're away from home and you're learning how to manage finances and police yourselves to get up and go to class and manage all of your coursework and the social aspect, pledging, all those things can take a toll on you mentally. I think it's important to to add to that the benefit of a mental health check-in with a professional.
The doctor in front of your name. The doctor in front of your name.
All right, so a lot of my experience has to do with going to an HBCU. And me personally, I always talk about, I'm a psychologist, and there's only 2% of psychologists in America are Black. And I attribute my success to some of that going to an HBCU because it helped to establish my sense of identity. Yes. How did that shape your identity, going to an HBCU? I mean, like I said, I don't know who I would be. So my high school, the majority of my high school ended up going to Georgia Southern University. So I probably was gonna go there. I had a boyfriend that I'd been with since freshman year. We would have stayed together. We might have gotten married. It would have been the same people that, I'd known most of my life. And that's okay. It's okay to be around what's familiar. But there's something magical and audacious and frightening about diving over a cliff into the unknown and allowing your faith to be your parachute. And I'm really proud of the person that I am because of, that taking that leap of faith. My public speaking skills, my passion for writing, my love of reading, just my confidence overall came from being on a Black campus with people who looked like me, and experiencing Blackness in a way that I did not experience it in white spaces that I grew up in. For example, what they call it the creamy crack still. I was perming my hair, child. And when I got to Howard, it's like you see all these beautiful Black women, donning these natural styles and this big natural hair. And it's like, what is that? And to this day, I've been natural since 2009. I still am in awe of my hair because it was just not something that was celebrated. And that was just the culture where I was from. So just so much about who I am as a Black woman, I came to appreciate. My mom put a lot of that in me, but it wasn't celebrated by the community in the same way until I got to my HBCU campus. And those are invaluable nuggets that make me who I am.
And Candice, I want to dig a little bit deeper into that. Your natural hair, it's beautiful.
Thank you.
So for those of you who don't know, Candice is one of the star of Real Housewives of Potomac.
Former
She's
star.
The main character, former main character.
Thank you.
On Real Housewives of Potomac. And I noticed that you wear your natural hair on national TV.
Heck yes.
In your confessionals.
Yes.
And that's something rare that we started to see when you started to do it.
Yeah.
Now it's becoming more mainstream, but I want to talk a little bit about that. Was that intentional? Did you want that representation of natural Black hair on TV?
For sure. It was kind of a journey for me. I'd never worn my hair in its natural state. I would blow it out. I'd never done a roller set, or a twist out rather. And I remember when I decided I wanted to try one, I was on the show and I was like, okay. And we were filming, we were in principal photography. And I was like, okay, this is a risk because I'm gonna do this. And if it ain't right, what I'm gonna do? Am I gonna pop a wig? What am I gonna do? And there are so many resources and YouTube videos and resources to watch and learn how to do your hair. And I knew that if I were to be brave enough to wear my hair that way on camera and rock it and like really embrace it, that it was a silent message to women and girls who looked like me. My whole existence on that show, so much of my existence on that show was me dog whistling and loudly proclaiming even to women who looked like me. because there weren't a lot of them before I got there. And it was, I took that responsibility very seriously. I tried my best to represent us well. You know,
you did it with grace.
The devil creeps in every now and then. But yeah, it was definitely intentional.
And we're going to dig a little bit deeper into that a little bit later in our questions. I'm excited to do that. But I want to pause there about HBCU culture, right? Natural hair. On our campus at Delaware State, we had fried chicken Thursdays.
Yes.
Right? Yes. Okay.
Soul food Thursdays.
Yes, fish Fridays.
Yep.
So HBCU culture is a thing.
Yes,
So I would love to get an understanding or get your insight into why do you think the world is starting to adopt HBCU culture a little bit more now?
I mean, why does the world adopt anything that Black people do? Because we do it the best. We do it with the most swag. We do it with the most color. And I think that, you know, the HBCU culture is just a part of that. I think it's important that we, as special as it is to share so much of our culture with the world, I also think that it's important that we keep some of that for ourselves, and that we hold on to it and make sure that we continue to be the purveyors of what is excellent about HBCU culture, Black music, Black television, Black film, everything Black, because so much of it is commandeered and copied and taken and twisted and then sort of given back to us as if it wasn't ours first. I think Howard had one of the highest admission rates in this last go round. Which is a beautiful thing, and it's special to see that more and more of us are embracing that part of Black culture, the HBCU experience. There is nothing like it. I'm gestating, and I was talking, I think, to Allison about when I have my son or daughter, because we live here. I don't see myself pressuring my kids to go to Howard, because I would love for them to branch out as well and go somewhere else. But absolutely, you go into a HBCU. These are the requirements in the name of Jesus. Just because the experience it can never be duplicated, and it changed me forever in the best way.
So in talking about that, discussing the next generation, I don't know about you, Chanel, but when I was applying for college, I was ambivalent applying to certain HBCUs because of course, colonization. But we hear things like, oh, if you go to an HBCU, you won't get a good job. If you go to an HBCU, you won't get that opportunity at a Fortune 500. Raise your hand if you ever heard that before. Yeah. And so I'm wondering for you, Candice, and I'm happy I made my choice, period. But I'm wondering for you, Candice, what advice would you give to HBCU students considering an HBCU education?
So I will tell you this short story. When I first decided that I wanted to attend an HBCU, I was talking to my parents about it, and my dad said to me, you know, I fully support you attending an HBCU. I think it's going to be a great experience, but I want you to be aware that the experience you will have at an HBCU may not be an accurate depiction of the way that the world is outside of that bubble. And there is truth to that, but it should not be seen as a roadblock or as a detractor. I think in the best way, I was cocooned. The mentorship I received, the eyes that were on me, the cups that poured into me, I may not have gotten that if I had gone to UMD or Georgetown, which were schools that, because I was journalism major, I was looking at. But I would say you will know if it's for you. I'm a huge proponent of school visits. Definitely visit the campuses that you're interested in, and visualize, picture yourself there, do your own research, because every HBCU is not the same. They're not going to give you all the same things. So you have to find the village, the home that is for you. And if it's in you, you will thrive there, and that's only something that you will know.
So good. And I'm also wondering, it sounds like you had parents that walked you through this process. How many of you have had parents that went to HBCUs as well? Yeah, okay. And so I'm wondering for you, Candice, like, how would you say HBCUs, how we can do a better job of helping to lay that trajectory of building legacy and helping us to establish that legacy in the Black community of going to HBCUs?
That's a good question. I think that, recruitment is really important. Spaces like this where people who are maybe interested in attending an HBCU and don't know much about the experience can help them figure out what is for them and what's not for them. And it's really on us, much like, everything that Black people do. We thrive when we pass on the traditions, when we talk to each other about what's happening and what's going on. And I learned that from my parents, and they learned that from their parents and even our ancestors. We survived because we talked to each other. And I think that same mantra applies here, in that when you are going through your experience, and when you finish your experience, it's your responsibility to then go back and say to, the youth, the Black youth of your community, this is something that you should consider, and here is why. And I'm an example. Exhibit A. This is Exhibit A. This is number one reason why you should consider it, and continue to use each other as examples. Yeah.
You got the doctor in front of your name. You got the doctor in front of your name.
So talk to us a little bit about that journey.
Yeah. So I'm 37. I'm from the South. So growing up, I grew up in spaces where, everyone marriage is on the brain, babies are on the brain. You're thinking and planning your life around getting married, having children, maybe having a career. But in where I grew up, the forefront of conversations about the future always somewhat centered around getting married and having children. So that was my mindset early on. But who you are is gonna always fight to get out. And there was another part of me that was goal-oriented in a way that did not maybe include children and marriage so soon. I remember doing my 10-year plan at 18, and by now I should have like a 12-year-old and be doing Frederica Whitfield's job at CNN. Clearly, that was not what God had in store. But I had to really fight this urge to. I had to fight the urge to not acquiesce to what I saw and go confidently in the direction of what I knew deep in my heart I wanted to do. And that was leaving home. That was all of the things that I've done. So then I'm going through this like vacillation in my mind of, well, do I want to have kids? Do I want to be a mom even? I went from like, I'm having 6 kids. I don't know if I want any. And I remember meeting a woman in my early 30s who spoke to me about egg freezing. And if I had known sooner about what the egg freezing process, or IVF, in vitro fertilization, consisted of, maybe I would have frozen my eggs sooner. But I did end up freezing embryos. So we did an egg extraction because I was already married to my partner. We fertilized the eggs and froze the embryos. And for me, it just became a huge weight off of my shoulders, so that I didn't have to do this back and forth, this internal tennis match of, am I ready to be a mom? Am I ready to, take over the world and be a baby Michelle Obama or a baby Angela Bassett, whatever I was going to be? I was able to put that to rest because of this resource that was given to me by a fertility consultant. And I kind of felt cheated in some ways because it wasn't a resource that was presented to me earlier in life. And then I'm learning as I'm going through it how many white women are freezing their eggs at 24, 25, 26 years old. And it's very expensive. It's not something that, unless you can prove that you have had fertility issues for some time, is going to be covered by health insurance. We did 2 rounds of IVF, so 2 rounds to extract eggs from my ovaries. And it was about $30,000, and none of it was covered. But it was worth it for us, and we had the resources to do that. But my goal is to work with our congressional leaders to have some or all of the costs be covered by health insurance in the same way that birth control is. Because why I wanted to share this and what is important about this is that, you all are here as ambitious, young, beautiful Black women who, I know that you have plans for yourself. I can see it. And if you also have plans to become mothers, you're not mothers yet, you want to become mothers, you shouldn't have to feel like, okay, I gotta, stop what I'm doing to pop out a baby and feel like you're putting your life on hold. You should have the option of this resource because it is a family planning resource. Much like when you are, taking birth control, you planning your family. You planning to not have a family at that time. Amen. And IVF it's the same thing. I know that this is an option for me. I don't know when it's an option for me. So let me bank on this insurance and go through this process so that I don't have to be stressing in the back of my mind about my biological clock ticking. And, there are a lot of details that I could go into, but freezing a lot of eggs if you don't have a partner is important because eggs don't always make it through the freezing and thawing process versus embryos are typically stronger and they make it better through that process. So I think, I'm gonna tell you all my business. I think my first round, we only got 12 eggs and only 4 of them were viable, meaning we're free of defects or issues that would prevent them from making it all the way through what's called the blastocyst stage, which is like day 5 of an embryo being strong enough to then be frozen or implanted. So it's a lot of science, but I wanted to talk about it because I know that some of you may want to become parents one day and mothers one day, and even for the men in the room, it's an important conversation to have with your partners. So and for me, it was successful, and it resulted in me having the bun in the oven that I've always wanted at the time that I wanted it, and I knew I was ready when it happened or when it was time to do the implantation. I knew, and you will also know. But you will rest assured and you'll be able to sleep better at night and really beast your careers knowing that you have this insurance in the back of in the bank. So I just wanted to share that with you all.
Appreciate the vulnerability, for real, because you're teaching me stuff. I didn't know insurance didn't cover it. That's wild.
Yes, unless, so women who deal with fertility struggles, you have to, in the state, and it's different by state. So in the state of Maryland, I think you have to be actively trying to get pregnant for a year before insurance will then cover the costs of egg retrieval embryo transfers, freezing, and then you paying rent for your eggs or your embryo, so they got to sit in the cryo bank. It's like $500 a year. It's not that's not terrible, but and then emotionally, it's a heavy process. You're jabbing yourself in the stomach with needles, hormones, every day for several weeks, and then when you're ready to do an embryo transfer, you're jabbing yourself in the bum with larger needles for 10 weeks or more. So it's a lot. It's a lot of physical, mental, emotional, spiritual stuff. So it's good to wrap your mind around it now and find your village now and find the people that can support you through it, whether that's your family, your friends, your partner, and figure out what's important to you as far as planning your family. It is a family planning resource.
You got the doctor in front of your name.